What if I told you that the microwave in your kitchen was invented by accident when a chocolate bar melted in an engineer's pocket? That the colorful putty children play with was supposed to be synthetic rubber for World War II? That the life-saving device regulating millions of heartbeats came from a wiring mistake? We live surrounded by objects so familiar, we never question them. The sticky notes on your desk, the Slinky walking downstairs, the fizzy drink in your hand. We see them, use them, discard them without a second thought. Yet each carries a secret history, origins so unexpected, so accidental, or so transformed from their original purpose that knowing the truth changes how you see them forever. Today, I'll reveal the 15 most shocking origins of everyday objects you encounter without suspicion. These aren't obscure antiques or exotic artifacts. They're things you touch daily, products you purchase weekly, items so woven into modern life that their absence would be unthinkable. Yet their creation stories involve spectacular failures, accidental discoveries, rejected inventions, and purposes their creators never imagined. Stay to the end, because number one is a medical device so essential to modern healthcare that discovering it came from a simple wiring error will make you marvel at how accidents save lives. Let's begin. Number 15. High heels. Imagine a fashion statement synonymous with elegance, yet born on battlefields where Persian cavalry needed stability when firing arrows from galloping horses. The high heel clicks across floors now, yet its ancestors belonged to warriors and butchers. That's the high heel, transformed from function into fashion. Persian cavalry adopted heeled shoes in the 10th century, the raised heel hooking into stirrups for stability when shooting arrows while mounted. European aristocrats encountered these during 16th century diplomatic exchanges and adopted them as status symbols. King Louis XIV of France famously wore 5-inch red heels. European butchers wore platform shoes to stay above blood-covering shop floors. What few realize is that high heels disappeared from men's fashion during the Enlightenment when rationality became masculine ideals, while women's fashion emphasized impracticality as status. The heel transformed from gender-neutral functionality to gendered ornamentation within a century. That's the high heel. Warrior became fashionista. Practical became decorative. It's proof that objects transform completely when context shifts. Number 14. Play-Doh. Picture a cleaning product designed to remove coal soot from wallpaper when homes heated with coal. Play-Doh squishes through children's fingers now, yet it began as household necessity for an obsolete problem. That's Play-Doh, cleaning compound becoming creative toy. Coca-Cola products created wallpaper cleaning putty in the 1930s when most American homes heated with coal furnaces. The soft compound absorbed soot when rolled across wallpaper without damaging patterns. Then, natural gas and electric heating replaced coal. Wallpaper stayed clean. Coca-Cola faced bankruptcy, its essential product suddenly unnecessary. Kay Zufall, a Cincinnati teacher, noticed the cleaner similarity to modeling clay. Her brother-in-law, Joseph McVicker at Coca-Cola, reformulated it, removed detergent, added colors, and marketed it as children's toy. They named it Play-Doh. Within a decade, it became one of America's most popular toys. The composition remains remarkably similar. Flour, water, salt, boric acid, mineral oil. Properties perfect for cleaning delicate wallpaper proved perfect for small hands, creating temporary sculptures. That's Play-Doh. Cleaner became creative medium. Obsolescence became opportunity. It's proof that when your market disappears, sometimes the product just needs a new audience. Number 13. Velcro. Picture a Swiss engineer returning from hiking, picking burrs from his dog's fur, examining them under microscope, and recognizing a fastening system nature perfected. Velcro connects billions of closures daily. Shoes, clothing, aerospace applications, yet it came from stubborn seeds. That's Velcro. Nature copied. Biology commercialized. Georges de Mestral created Velcro in 1941 after examining burdock burrs under microscope. Each burr contained hundreds of tiny hooks, catching on loops in fabric and fur. Hooks were small enough to penetrate fibers, but strong enough that only peeling at an angle released them. De Mestral spent 8 years developing synthetic reproduction using nylon heated and cut to form hooks and loops. The engineering elegance lies in statistical strength. Each hook-loop connection is weak, but thousands engaging simultaneously create substantial force. The beauty is reversibility. NASA adopted Velcro extensively for space exploration. In zero gravity, astronauts needed fastening systems that didn't require fine motor control with bulky gloves. Velcro secured everything from equipment to food pouches, becoming permanent space station infrastructure. That's Velcro. Burr became fastener. Observation became industry. It's proof that solutions surround us, that curiosity reveals revolutionary possibilities. Number 12. Post-it notes. Imagine a scientist trying to create the world's strongest adhesive, only to develop glue so weak it barely stuck, then having his failure sit ignored for 5 years before someone recognized its brilliance. Post-it notes cover desks worldwide, yet they came from spectacular failure. That's the Post-it note. Weak glue becoming indispensable. Spencer Silver at 3M attempted to create super-strong adhesive in 1968. His experiment produced the opposite: glue that stuck lightly and could be removed without residue. By adhesive standards, it was worthless. The invention sat unused for 5 years. Art Fry, another 3M scientist and church choir member, provided the answer in 1974. He used paper scraps to mark hymnal pages, but they kept falling out. Remembering Silver's weak adhesive, Fry realized it would keep bookmarks in place without damaging pages. Fry expanded the concept. Adhesive-backed paper became writing surface for temporary notes. Initial market research suggested failure, but free samples proved addictive. 3M launched Post-it notes nationally in 1980. They became one of the company's most successful products. That's the Post-it note. Failure became fortune. Weakness became strength. It's proof that failed experiments aren't worthless. They're solutions waiting for the right problem. Number 11. Slinky. Picture a naval engineer testing springs for ship instruments, accidentally knocking one off a shelf, and watching mesmerized as it walked down stacked books. The Slinky descended stairs in millions of homes, yet it came from one clumsy moment. That's the Slinky, maritime accident becoming timeless toy. Richard James, a naval engineer, worked in 1943 developing springs to stabilize instruments on ships during rough seas. While testing tension springs, one fell from his workbench. Instead of dropping straight down, the spring walked end over end across stacked books, then onto his desk, finally to the floor where it recoiled and stood upright. James experimented with different wire gauges, tensions, and lengths, maximizing the walking effect. His wife Betty suggested the name Slinky. The physics is elegant. Gravity pulls the top coil downward, creating tension that transfers energy to the next coil. This wave propagates through the spring, each coil following in sequence. James demonstrated Slinky's at Gimbel's department store in Philadelphia in November 1945. He sold all 400 in 90 minutes. Over 300 million have been sold since. The design remains virtually unchanged. That's the Slinky. Accident became icon, engineering became entertainment. It's proof that paying attention to mistakes rather than dismissing them reveals discoveries. Number 10. Microwave oven. Imagine an engineer standing near a radar set, feeling a chocolate bar melt in his pocket, and recognizing that invisible electromagnetic waves cooking his snack could revolutionize food preparation. The microwave oven hums in nearly every kitchen, yet it came from melted chocolate. That's the microwave oven. Military radar becoming kitchen appliance. Percy Spencer at Raytheon worked on radar systems during World War II. In 1945, while testing a magnetron generating microwaves for radar, he noticed the chocolate bar in his pocket had melted. The room wasn't hot. The radar had cooked it. Spencer placed popcorn kernels near the magnetron. They popped. He positioned an egg near the tube. It exploded. Spencer recognized immediately that microwaves were cooking food by exciting water molecules, generating heat from within. Raytheon built the first microwave oven in 1947, the Radar Range. It stood nearly 6 feet tall, weighed 750 pounds, and cost $5,000. Decades of engineering reduced size and cost. By the 1970s, prices dropped below $500. Today, over 90% of American households own microwaves. What makes microwaves remarkable is the heating mechanism. Conventional ovens heat air, which heats food surfaces. Microwaves penetrate food, exciting water molecules throughout, heating from inside simultaneously. That's the microwave oven. Military technology became household convenience. Melted chocolate became cooking revolution. Number 9. Bubble wrap. Picture two engineers trying to create textured plastic wallpaper, only to watch every decorator reject their product. Bubble wrap pops under fingers now, protects packages crossing oceans, yet it began as spectacular failure. That's bubble wrap. Wallpaper rejected. Packaging perfected. Engineers Alfred Fielding and Mark Chavannes invented bubble wrap in 1957 by sealing two shower curtains together with air bubbles trapped inside. They envisioned three-dimensional wallpaper that would modernize interior design. The market showed zero interest. They pivoted to greenhouse insulation. Again, complete failure. Then, in 1960, IBM needed packaging for mainframe computers. Bubble wrap's air cushions absorbed shock perfectly. Each bubble acted as independent cushion. If some popped, others still protected. The same properties making it terrible for walls made it perfect for packaging. What few realize is that popping bubble wrap has therapeutic applications. Studies demonstrate it reduces stress hormones and anxiety. Some therapists keep it specifically for anxious clients. The failed wallpaper became a mental health tool. That's bubble wrap. Wallpaper became packaging. Failure became fortune. It's proof that sometimes the market knows better than the inventor. Number 8. Frisbees. Imagine college students tossing empty pie tins across campus lawns, yelling, "Frisbee!" to warn pedestrians of incoming metal projectiles. The Frisbee soars through parks now, engineered for perfect flight. Yet it began as discarded bakery packaging. That's the Frisbee. Trash becoming treasure. warning becoming brand name. The Frisbee Pie Company in Bridgeport, Connecticut, sold pies in shallow tin plates. Yale students discovered these tins flew with remarkable stability when thrown. The circular shape and slight lip created unexpected aerodynamic properties. Spinning generated lift through Bernoulli's principle. In 1948, Walter Frederick Morrison created the first plastic flying disc. Wham-O Toys bought his design in 1957 and renamed it Frisbee after hearing about the Yale game. They never paid the Frisbee Pie Company. The bakery closed in 1958, just as its name achieved immortality. What's remarkable is the physics. A thrown frisbee exhibits gyroscopic stability. Spinning creates angular momentum, resisting directional changes. The underside creates high pressure, while air flows faster over the curved top, generating lift. That's the frisbee. Warning became brand. Trash became sport. It's proof that the best toys emerge from accidents. Number 7. Superglue. Picture a chemist trying to create precision plastic for gun sights during World War II, accidentally discovering a substance so sticky it ruined his equipment, then rejecting it as useless. Superglue bonds instantly now, yet it was discovered twice and rejected twice before anyone recognized its value. That's superglue. Failure rejected, rediscovered, finally appreciated. Harry Coover at Eastman Kodak Laboratories worked in 1942 developing clear plastics for precision gun sights. He synthesized cyanoacrylate, which proved impossibly sticky. Coover rejected it. Gun sights needed clear, non-adhesive plastic. 6 years later, researching heat-resistant polymers for jet canopies, his team rediscovered cyanoacrylate. This time, Coover recognized what he'd missed. This wasn't failed plastic. It was extraordinary adhesive. Cyanoacrylate bonds through polymerization triggered by moisture. The thin film of water on virtually all surfaces catalyzes chemical reaction, causing liquid monomer to polymerize into strong plastic chains, bonding surfaces together. The reaction happens in seconds. What's most remarkable is the Vietnam War application. Field medics used superglue to close wounds quickly when sutures weren't practical. The adhesive stopped bleeding instantly, bonding skin edges together. Modern medical-grade cyanoacrylates are used routinely for surgical closures. That's superglue. Failed plastic became essential adhesive. Rejected twice became invaluable. It's proof that revolutionary discoveries often appear first as frustrating problems. Number 6. Matches. Picture a British pharmacist scraping his chemical-coated stirring stick against stone to remove dried paste, suddenly igniting fire he couldn't control. Matches seem mundane now, yet their accidental invention required decades of refinement to become safe. That's the match. Accident becoming necessity. Danger domesticated. British pharmacist John Walker invented the friction match accidentally in 1826 while stirring chemicals. Dried paste stuck to his stick. When he scraped it against the stone floor to clean it, the friction generated enough heat to ignite the chemicals. Walker had created fire on demand through friction alone. The chemical elegance lies in the reaction sequence. Friction heat decomposes potassium chlorate, releasing oxygen. This ignites antimony sulfide, creating flame hot enough to ignite the wooden stick. The reaction happens in milliseconds. Walker never patented his invention. He sold matches in his pharmacy, but didn't seek to monopolize the discovery. Early matches were dangerously unpredictable. They ignited from friction anywhere. spontaneously combusting in pockets, starting unintended fires. The breakthrough came with safety matches in the 1850s. These require striking against a special surface containing red phosphorus. Separating reactive components made accidental ignition nearly impossible. That's the match. Accident became innovation. Danger became domesticated. It's proof that refining dangerous inventions into safe versions sometimes matters more than the initial breakthrough. Number 5. Saccharin. Imagine a chemist working with coal tar derivatives, forgetting to wash his hands before dinner, and discovering that everything he touched tasted impossibly sweet. Saccharin sweetens drinks and foods now, 300 times sweeter than sugar. Yet it came from unwashed hands and accidental contamination. That's saccharin, laboratory mistake becoming sugar substitute. Konstantin Fahlberg worked at Johns Hopkins University in 1879 researching coal tar derivatives. After a long day in the laboratory, he went home for dinner without washing his hands. The bread tasted sweet. The meat tasted sweet. Everything tasted intensely sweet. He realized the sweetness came from his hands. He'd contaminated himself with a compound from the lab. Fahlberg returned to the laboratory that evening and systematically tasted every compound he'd worked with that day. A dangerous practice by modern standards. He identified the sweet substance, benzoic sulfamide, later named saccharin. The compound was hundreds of times sweeter than sugar, but contained no calories and wasn't metabolized by the human body. Fahlberg patented saccharin without crediting his supervisor, Ira Remsen, who had designed the original research project. This caused significant controversy and a bitter dispute, but Fahlberg controlled the patent and became wealthy manufacturing saccharin commercially. What's remarkable is the timing. Saccharin arrived just as sugar shortages during World War I made sweeteners valuable. It became essential for diabetics who needed to limit sugar intake. Despite decades of safety controversies and temporary bans, saccharin remains approved for use. Billions of pink packets of Sweet and Low have been sold worldwide. The medical applications extended beyond diabetes. Saccharin helped millions manage weight, control blood sugar, and enjoy sweet flavors without caloric consequences. One chemist's unwashed hands created an entire industry. That's saccharin. Contaminated dinner became sugar substitute. Laboratory accident became medical tool. It's proof that even unhygienic laboratory practices can lead to discoveries, though we don't recommend skipping hand washing. Number 4. Silly putty. Imagine engineers during World War II desperately trying to create synthetic rubber after Japan captured Asian rubber plantations, only to produce bouncing, stretching goo that seemed completely useless, until a toy store owner recognized its potential. Silly putty bounces in plastic eggs now, yet it began as failed war material. That's silly putty, strategic failure becoming playful success. James Wright at General Electric mixed boric acid with silicone oil in 1943, trying to create rubber substitutes for military equipment. The result bounced, stretched, and copied newsprint. But it wasn't rubber. It failed every military specification. General Electric sent samples to engineers worldwide. Nobody found an application. Peter Hodgson, a marketing consultant, encountered it at a party in 1949. While adults dismissed it as useless, he noticed people couldn't stop playing with it. Hodgson recognized that what made it terrible as rubber made it perfect as a toy. He borrowed money, bought production rights, and packaged it in plastic eggs. He called it Silly Putty, marketing it as the toy with one moving part: you. Within 3 days of launch, Hodgson sold 250,000 eggs. What makes Silly Putty remarkable is its viscoelastic properties. It behaves as both liquid and solid, depending on force applied. Pull it slowly, it stretches like liquid. Pull it quickly, it breaks like solid. These contradictory behaviors fascinate children and physicists equally. That's Silly Putty. Strategic failure became commercial success. Military rejection became childhood joy. It's proof that context determines value. Number 3. Champagne. Picture a Benedictine monk desperately trying to prevent wine from fermenting in bottles, believing the bubbles were flaws that ruined his product. Champagne celebrates moments worldwide now, its effervescence marking occasions, yet it began as winemaking failure the French tried eliminating. That's champagne, flaw becoming feature, problem becoming prestige. Dom Perignon, a 17th-century monk managing wine cellars at Haute-Villers Abbey, fought against secondary fermentation that created bubbles in bottled wine. In cold champagne winters, fermentation stopped prematurely. When spring arrived, dormant yeast revived in bottles, producing carbon dioxide that created pressure, bubbles, and frequently exploded bottles. Dom Perignon dedicated decades trying to prevent this. He improved corking methods, used thicker glass, blended wines more carefully, all attempting to eliminate bubbles he considered defects. Historical accounts suggest he said, "Come quickly, I am drinking the stars," upon accidentally tasting bubbly wine. But this is likely romantic invention. Contemporary evidence suggests he viewed bubbles as problems to solve, not discoveries to celebrate. What transformed champagne from flaw to feature was English glass technology and changing tastes. English glassmakers produced bottles strong enough to withstand pressure. English aristocrats developed taste for sparkling wines. By the 18th century, French winemakers recognized that what they'd fought against for decades was actually desirable. They refined the méthode champenoise, controlled secondary fermentation in bottles, creating consistent carbonation. Champagne became associated with luxury, celebration, and French sophistication. The region's unique chalk soil, climate, and grape varieties produced wines that sparkled beautifully when given the chance. That's champagne. Flaw became feature. Problem became prestige. Monk's frustration became celebration beverage. It's proof that markets sometimes desire what creators consider failures. Number 2. Coca-Cola. Picture a pharmacist creating medicinal syrup to cure headaches and relieve exhaustion, marketing it as patent medicine containing coca leaf extract. Coca-Cola fizzes in glasses worldwide now, consumed 1 billion times daily. Yet it began as pharmaceutical tonic sold at drugstore soda fountains. That's Coca-Cola, medicine becoming refreshment. John Stith Pemberton, an Atlanta pharmacist, created Coca-Cola in 1886 as medicinal tonic. His syrup combined coca leaf extract, containing small amounts of cocaine, with cola nut extract containing caffeine, creating stimulant drink marketed as cure for morphine addiction, headaches, and exhaustion. Pemberton advertised it as esteemed brain tonic and intellectual beverage. Drugstores sold it mixed with carbonated water, 5 cents per glass. The carbonation made medicinal syrup into refreshing drink. What few realize is that Coca-Cola originally contained cocaine, approximately 9 milligrams per glass. The formula changed in 1903 when public opinion turned against cocaine. The company switched to spent coca leaves, leaves with cocaine chemically extracted, which still provided flavor without the drug. The drink's success came from clever marketing. Asa Candler bought the formula from Pemberton's estate, stopped emphasizing medicinal claims, and marketed it as delicious refreshment. The distinctive bottle shape designed in 1915 became iconic branding. By the 1920s, Coca-Cola had transformed from medicinal tonic to cultural phenomenon. The company associated the drink with happiness, refreshment, and American identity rather than pharmaceutical claims. That's Coca-Cola. Medicine became beverage. Cocaine-laced tonic became family drink. It's proof that products can completely escape their origins. Number 1. Pacemaker. Imagine a medical researcher building a device to record heart rhythms, accidentally installing the wrong resistor, and watching his equipment make an animal heartbeat artificially. The pacemaker regulates millions of human hearts now, extending lives by decades, yet it came from a wiring mistake and the curiosity to investigate rather than discard failure. That's the pacemaker. Error becoming innovation, accident becoming lifesaver. Wilson Greatbatch worked in 1958, building a device to record irregular heart rhythms. He grabbed what he thought was a 10,000-ohm resistor, installed it, and immediately noticed something wrong. The device emitted rhythmic pulses instead of steady signals. He'd grabbed a 1 megohm resistor by mistake. Most engineers would have cursed and continued. Greatbatch was curious. The rhythmic pulses, about 60 per minute, reminded him of a human heartbeat. He wondered, if a mistake could create these pulses, could intentional design create artificial heartbeat? At that time, patients with complete heart block required refrigerator-sized external pacemakers using wall power, confining them to hospitals. Portable, implantable pacemakers didn't exist. Hearts that couldn't beat on their own meant death. Greatbatch spent 2 years miniaturizing his circuit, developing batteries that could power it for years inside the body, and designing biocompatible materials. In 1960, surgeons implanted his pacemaker in a patient. It worked. The patient lived. What makes the story remarkable is the timing. Transistor technology, battery advances, and biocompatible materials had just converged at exactly the moment Greatbatch's accident happened, making implantable pacemakers feasible. Over 3 million people worldwide have pacemakers. The devices have extended billions of collective years of human life, all because an engineer grabbed the wrong resistor and investigated his mistake. The biocompatible materials, miniaturized electronics, and long-life batteries developed for pacemakers enabled entire categories of implantable medical devices: defibrillators, cochlear implants, neurostimulators. That's the pacemaker. Wrong resistor became right solution. Mistake became miracle. It's proof that curiosity about what went wrong sometimes matters more than achieving what we planned. The most important medical device of the 20th century exists because one engineer wondered why his mistake created a heartbeat. These 15 objects prove that the things we use without thought carry invisible histories. Accidents and rejections, spectacular failures and serendipitous observations, purposes abandoned and applications discovered. They remind us to question the ordinary. Those shoes were designed for horseback archery. That soda was medicinal tonic. That toy cleaned coal soot from wallpaper. The device regulating your grandmother's heartbeat came from installing the wrong resistor. Most importantly, they prove that failure and accident drive innovation as much as deliberate design. The strongest glue failed twice. The perfect toy was useless rubber. The life-saving pacemaker was a wiring mistake. Dom Perignon fought for decades against bubbles that became Champagne's defining feature. This isn't just trivia. It's permission to investigate accidents, to reconsider failures, to recognize that something serving no purpose today might solve tomorrow's problem. The next revolutionary product might be sitting in a laboratory right now, rejected as useless, waiting for someone curious enough to ask, "What else could this be?" Pick up any object. Ask where it came from. You'll discover that innovation rarely follows straight lines, that the familiar often has shocking beginnings, and that paying attention to accidents sometimes matters more than pursuing deliberate plans. The ordinary is extraordinary. We've just stopped questioning it. Now you know better.